order. Chief, would you please lead us in pledge? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Victor, would you lead us in prayer tonight, please?
Father God, we come before you today and we thank you for everything that you're doing for us. Thank you for everything that you're doing in the city of Monte Vista as well as throughout the valley. God, we ask that you remain in control. We ask for your will to be done. In the mighty name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Roll call, please.
Counselor Johnson,
Here.
Counselor Foster,
Present.
Counselor Locke,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala, Mayor Becker,
Here.
a quorum is declared.
Any modifications to the agenda?
Yes, we need to make sure that the date is actually February 18th, not February 4th.
Oh, good point.
So duly noted. Approval.
Modify your meeting minutes as well, right?
Yes.
Approval of consent agenda, minutes of regular meeting, January 21st, 2021. Review and approval of accounts payable.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, if I could point of order on that, it's actually the meeting minutes of February 4th, 2021.
Ah,
Okay.
okay, we'll change that one too.
Yep. Sorry.
I thought that was odd, but didn't catch it. Thank you, Forrest.
You got a little time travel.
Yeah. Make a fortune if we can check.
Backwards.
Go back 2 weeks. Could not live in GameStop.
So I need a motion for approval of consent agenda for minutes of regular meeting, February 4th, 2021. Review and approval of accounts payable.
So moved as corrected.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the approval of the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Anita?
Counselor Johnson,
Aye.
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala,
Aye.
Counselor Foster,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Okay, citizen comment, special presentation. Scheduled appearances, in order to be included on this portion of the agenda, you have to file appropriate paperwork with the city clerk no later than noon on Monday prior to the meeting. So the first one up is Veterans Coalition of the San Luis Valley.
Can I pose a question? We were talking about that, whether they needed to be here, because all their paperwork is in,
I do have their paperwork.
so
And
everything,
they did give their presentation at the last meeting.
they did, yes. So we're okay.
We'll do Brothers Keepers now then. Mr. Clark, Mr. Deacon. Please sign that paper up there, please.
Good evening, everyone. As some of you may remember, we were here at the last meeting, but at that time we had some finalization to take care of before we could do this presentation. And what we're requesting is some funding from the city of Monte Vista to put on our event, Brothers Keepers, which is in support of the Veterans Coalition of San Luis Valley. We've done this for about 3 years, and this year that's coming up, we hope that we can if everything, the cards fall in place and everything, we can have another one. We're gonna have a big one last year because of COVID. It went by the wayside and concerns and everything. So we've turned our paperwork in also, and this time we've been requesting $2,000 for that process. And what we do is we want that to help make a larger and bigger, better event, and try to bring more money in to give to the Veterans Coalition rather than just passing through the donation. Right now, the dates and everything is tentative, depending on how everything comes out with COVID and how the months progress. And so right now, we're just gonna ask for the funding in a tentative position at this time. So is there any questions on anything?
Anybody have any questions?
I think most of you know that we're the firemen, Brothers Keeper Motorcycle Group, and we've been doing this for several years. And San Luis Valley Coalition, Veterans Coalition has been our main fundraising event for them. And we're working with Richard Nigley. So, but as we said, we're just anticipating that things come out good and turn out right. That right now at this time, it's just gonna be a tentative request until we see how things go out. We get closer to midsummer, June, July, somewhere in that area. So,
That's good.
any questions?
We could vote on that.
Was that already approved and voted on?
We-
Was already?
Did we vote on that?
Counselor Johnson made a motion to approve it at the last meeting and withdrew his motion so the Brothers Keepers could present.
Okay. And you have, can I ask another question then? We had a 2,000 request, and I believe a 3,000 request from Veterans Coalition,
That is
because the total was 5,000.
That is correct. I have a request for $3,000 from the Veterans Coalition of the San Luis Valley and a $2,000 request from Brothers Keepers Motorcycle Club.
Well, I move to approve the request for funding for Veterans Coalition and Brothers Keepers in the amount stipulated, totaling $5,000.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the funding for Brothers Keepers for $2,000 and the Veterans Coalition for $3,000. Is there any more discussion? Nita?
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Counselor Foster?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola?
Aye.
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion is approved to donate $3,000 to the Veterans Coalition of the San Luis Valley and $2,000 to Brothers Keepers.
Congratulations, guys.
Good.
Keep it rocking, huh?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, and we'll keep you informed.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Time goes, thanks.
forward to some glowing reports.
And we have a Monte Vista Airport NBI Master Plan.
Good evening, council. We can do this a couple of ways. Last night, we had a presentation and work session with the airport board and members of council. If you want, it is prepared to pull up the presentation, and I have Leah on the phone, or at least I can get her back on the phone, and we can redo the presentation. If council feels that they've heard enough, we can move it until the ordinances, and then if you want to approve the master plan, or I can go through it, whichever you would prefer tonight.
I could go either way, but I was at that presentation, and it was incredible, frankly. It was extremely informative, but the rest of it's up to the rest of
It's
the council.
completely up to council. We'll keep it
I could go either way.
10-15 minutes and kind of go to the abridged version if you'd like.
That might be best, Rob, because I don't believe Martha or Victor's seen it, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were on, weren't you? For the first half of the, yeah.
Hey Leah, I got you on speakerphone, council's here.
Okay.
We're gonna redo the abridged version of the presentation.
Sounds good.
Okay?
I can make that happen. Do you have the slides up?
Yep, we're getting those up, and I'm gonna put the phone right in front of the mayor.
Okay, sounds good, thank you.
Mhm. You just tell me when you want me to move a slide.
Okay, will do. Am I good to go ahead and get started?
Yes, you can.
Okay, well, thank you, thanks for letting me call in, Rob, I appreciate it. My name is Leah Whitfield, and I have been the project manager for the airport master plan. And really, we're kind of just wrapping up the project. We have produced our final report, and we thought it was timely to come to you and give you an overview of the entire project and see kind of what questions you might have about the planning process and kind of the end result of the project, and then kind of talk a little bit about next steps and where the city and the airport goes from here. So, starting by what is an airport master plan? So an airport master plan is a requirement from the FAA, and it has to be completed about every 10 to 15 years at an airport the size of Monte Vista. And the purpose of a master plan is really not to solve those day-to-day issues like airport management or maintenance issues, but it really focuses on what projects and development need to occur at the airport. And it follows a very specific FAA advisory circular process that includes giving a baseline inventory of what exists at the airport, producing an aviation forecast of operations and based aircraft for the next 20 years, and then taking that aviation forecast and then putting that into facility requirements and looking at what are the standards that the FAA has set for the type of aircraft that are going to be coming in and out of the airport, and then where are our deficiencies. And then taking that information and putting that into development alternatives. So we generally kind of lay out different options for the future of the airport and then decide on a preferred alternative, and then take that and put that on a graphical depiction called an airport layout plan set. And the airport layout plan also has to be formally approved and signed by the FAA. And it's really important step in the process because in order for any project to happen at the airport, it has to be depicted on that approved airport layout plan set. And then the kind of final culmination of the project is the capital improvement plan, just kind of planning out those projects and that development over the next 5, 10, 15, and 20 years. So we're looking at those short, medium, and long-term plans for the airport. So if you move on to the next slide for public involvement. So we had a pretty comprehensive public involvement plan, and hopefully some of you have heard of the airport master plan or attended one of our meetings in the past. We did a informational page on your website. We had a user survey where we got some great feedback about issues at the airport. We formed an airport advisory committee specifically for the project. We met with them 3 times, and they really just guided the whole process. It wasn't just the airport board, it was the airport board and then some other community members as well. And then we accepted comments throughout the whole process, and we also held 2 public open houses in the room that you're in tonight to gain feedback. So moving on to the current aviation activity slide. So this is that aviation forecast. And for the aviation forecast, there's 2 components. It's the base aircraft and then the annual operations. And so the base aircraft is an aircraft that resides at the airport 50% or more of the time. And so right now we have 18 total base aircraft at the airport. And then our annual operations are about 6,000. And an operation is either a takeoff or a landing. So if an airplane takes off, that's an operation. They fly around and then they come back and land. That's 2 operations. And we have about 6,000 of those per year. And 2018 was our base year. So if you go on to the next slide of the critical design aircraft and kind of the airport reference code. So what comes out of that aviation activity forecast is which aircraft is coming and going 500 times or more per year. And that really kind of defines the general geometry of the airport that we have to meet based on the FAA standards. And we conducted interviews with the 2 major businesses at the airport, Cedar and Rocky Mountain Ag, and we really examined the type of aircraft that they're using, and then how many operations are they having each season. And so the Airtractor 602 was the most popular aircraft, and it is considered what we call a B2 aircraft. And that aircraft we have approach path indicator lights called PATs. And these lights are at the end of the runway, and when they were installed, they just weren't installed. There was no certification process at the time, and now there's a certification process. So that's something that we'll kind of check the box on as we replace those lights in a future project. And then looking at the design standards, the big design standard going from a B1 to a B2 airport is increasing the runway width from 60 to 75 feet. And so that the runway needs to be widened by that 15 feet. And then at midterm improvements, so unfortunately, the fuel farm relocation and self-serve fuel area was originally also scheduled for 2021 for a CDOT project. However, due to the downturn in the economy and the fuel sales and the revenue that CDOT has received, they do not have the funding to do that project in 2021 as it stands right now. So they've requested that we move that project to 2026. However, we did hear from CDOT yesterday. Congress is currently reviewing the 2021 Federal Aviation Administration Airport Improvement Program grant, and they're considering doing 100% grant, which is what they did in 2020 through the CARES Act. And so what that would mean is that the city might not have a match, and aeronautics might not have that 5% match. So that saves the city and it saves aeronautics. So what aeronautics wants to do is they want to take that money that they're getting back into their pocketbook, and they want to turn around and prioritize projects again and see what projects they can fit back in to 2021 and 2022. So it's really heavily dependent on what Congress does and if 100% grants are issued or not, and there's a lot of uncertainty, as you can imagine there, and it's very new information, but just wanted to point that out, that there is a chance that that project moves up. So 2026 fuel farm relocation, it's just under a $400,000 project. Then looking at the big project is really the 2027 and 2028 project. So 2027, we would do the design of the runway reconstruction and widening. So we do the 15-foot widening, redo the lights, the navies at the end of the runway as well, and then just do a full depth pavement reconstruction. So the design would be in 27, and then the following year we would do the construction. And that's almost about a $6.5 million project. So we know that that's a sizable project, and we've been working really closely with Forrest and Rob to try to fit that project into the budget and get it far enough out that we can continue to plan ahead for that. But again, it's a really important project. Even with this pavement maintenance project, it's really just a patch job to get us to that bigger reconstruction project. So kind of where do we go from here? So that's why I'm talking to you tonight, is to look to formally adopt the airport master plan. The FAA has approved the airport master plan, and they have approved and signed the airport layout plan set. And the full report, Rob has a copy of that if you would like to take a look at that, and I think a paper copy will be available to you very soon if you're interested as well. But then really jumping into implementing the master plan, and that's kind of where we are right now. So we started the design project in 2021 for the pavement maintenance and taxiway widening, and then also completed the NEPA categorical exclusion checklist. And that checklist has been approved, and we also included not only the runway and the taxiway project, but we went ahead and included the fuel area as well as the hangar area, because we know that there's interest in developing hangars sooner rather than later. So we wanted to just go ahead and get that environment off the to-do list. So that has been approved. So if you go to the next slide, this is just another kind of in-depth look at what the 2021 project looks like. So there's a lot of different lines here. The existing pavement is kind of shown just with no background, and then the proposed additional pavement that we would be adding is in the darker gray. So you really see kind of some fillets along the taxiway Bravo, the runway apron, and then kind of widening on taxiway Alpha 1 on the south side, so the left side. And so what all the different lines represent are the actual critical aircraft that aircraft taxiing on the pavement, and where the margins are for safety, for the taxiway edge safety margin. And then looking at this from two different perspectives. So the current FAA standard essentially are these wider fillets. However, we don't need those wider fillets based on the
there's no questions, council will be bringing that back up for a formal approval under the resolution section of the council meeting tonight. So, if there's no questions from the crowd or from council, Leah, thank you very much. I think it was very good. I appreciate it.
You are very welcome. If anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Justin.
Thank you,
Thank
Mayor.
you. Thanks.
Thank you, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
Optimistics update.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Councilors. I'm Adam Locke, co-founder of the Optimistic Citizens Action Group, so I'm wearing my optimistic hat tonight. I want to thank you for allowing us time to address you. The city is on board with what we're doing, and so graciously granted us that $5,000 letter of credit to help establish our other funding. We felt it prudent to provide you with periodic, short, quick updates as to where we stand and what's going on. So some of you know our other co-founder, Ken Hemko, has had some major back surgery. He is doing well. It was beginning of this month. He expects to be back next week, but obviously recovery is going to take some time. Still, we're communicating every day on a wide variety of topics, including, of course, what the Optimistics are doing. December, in reality, was the last time we had an opportunity to meet. Some of the same key people that are in the Optimistics group are also involved in the Monte Vista Marketing Group, which is, of course, a committee of the chamber. They're two unique independent groups, two unique plans, but we really see a lot of what we're doing moving forward in conjunction with each other. And the truth is, we focused really heavy on the marketing plan over the last couple of months to try to bring the whole thing to fruition. Again, with Ken's intensive surgery, recovery, the holidays, weather concerns, the marketing project, it kind of kept optimistic projects mostly on a slow simmer over the last couple of months. We didn't stop, it just kind of back burner stuff. But it's really time to start focusing on all of this again, our revitalization projects. We want to make some things start happening. Now the weather's turning in. The reality of it is you can't paint a building in the middle of the winter anyway. So we met with a local wooden sign maker last week. We're going to be getting new bids from him. We had the incorrect square footage, and Forrest, thank you for pointing that out to us. So our estimated sign cost should be going down. It looks like we're going to be changing who we're operating under in the near future. Ken had a really good discussion with the Monte Vista Community Fund people recently. So it looks like we're going to be moving optimistic funding under their umbrella. And the reason for this is they're a 501c3 as opposed to the chamber's 501c6. Nothing wrong with it, but with the C3, we have a much better chance at paying some funding. Of course, we appreciate what the chamber's done for us, and we continue to operate under our umbrella for now. We're continuing to work with DCI, monitoring other organizations to identify grant money that's available for revitalization. In fact, Ken had a long discussion with their executive director, Kat Correll, just this week. Again, though, any real movement in that front is contingent on our moving on our financial operations under another 501c3. We have secured the funding for the light bulbs on Adams Street, the 100 block to start. This, of course, falls under chamber funding. It already exists and had been earmarked for projects that we're working on. It's still within our original budget projections, too. We've also secured a commitment from SLB REC to help us install the lights for free. And yes, we'll be making a lot of noise when that happens on social and local media. In fact, we will let you know ahead of time before that happens. We've added and updated our website. Websites are an ongoing project. We've added several more pages, trying to keep the excitement going. As a quick recap, since we launched the site in September, we've had over 1,500 unique visitors, over 4,000 total visits, and 12,000 total page views. So we're pretty happy with that in the short amount of time that it's been up. Of course, we're still working with the State Tourism Office, Colorado.com, and as we help local tourist-related businesses here get themselves listed. This is a huge site, it's a massive amount of traffic in this. We're also still developing the road trips that we have spoken about, focusing on Monte Vista first and expanding to towns outside and coming back to Monte Vista in the evening. Our intent to have these road trips actually up on CTO's website by this spring. We're continuing to add new people to our social media outreach efforts. We'll be meeting with them over the next couple of meetings to learn more about them and how we can integrate and use their talents best. Excuse me. We continue to receive really positive feedback when we talk to people about what we're doing and our efforts. Very encouraging. We obviously welcome anybody else to come on board with us. And of course, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and the website, optimistics.org. In partnership with the Optimistics, my company is producing a video to feature the Swoop of the Cranes. It's a local, the local community art project. As of last year, the chamber has 50 to 60 cranes, the silhouettes. They're being painted by local artists. They're going to be installed on the light poles around the first week of March. I saw some of them. Unbelievable work. Incredible what they're doing. So we're producing a video to highlight this wonderful art project and the positive impact it has in our town. So when council, and I already have permission to do this, when council breaks for your executive session later, if anybody else is interested in participating, you're welcome to. We'd love to hear your impression of the Swoop of the Cranes art project, and we'll work to integrate that into the video we're producing. And finally, there is a strong ongoing planning regarding having a parade here in town, going down Adams Street, around the downtown area for St. Patrick's Day. The exact route, times still yet to be determined. We're also working on some kind of Cinco de Mayo type of celebration. As you probably all know, the county returned to level blue today, which means more restrictions were lifted. Obviously, we'll still follow whatever health guidelines are in place at the time. It would be published, it would be an event announcement. The Optimistics are heading up both of these projects with the intent of bringing people downtown for a bit of a celebration for both of these days. And also, it allows us an opportunity to raise a little bit of funding towards the beautification projects that we're working on. We're even talking with local restaurants to offer special foods that would typically be associated with these, type of days, for St. Patrick's Day, corned beef and cabbage type of thing. We've even secured some small prizes from local businesses for entries into the parade. We'll report more on this as things are finalized. Honestly, these ideas came to us just recently. We started pulling them all together to try to make them happen. All the feedback we've received very positive on this as well. Again, I want to keep these updates just brief and to the point, hitting the mountain peaks. But again, we feel it prudent to let you all know what's happening, where we're going. Mayor Becker, to the council, I thank you for that, and welcome any questions you might have.
I have a question about your website. You mentioned optimistics.org. Is that the promotional website?
Yes.
Do you have one that's just Monte Vista or?
That is under the marketing group. That's something different. There is a different website that we're working on. We're meeting next week at the chamber to make final plans on the purchase of that and move forward.
Okay, that isn't finalized yet.
No, sir. But we need to, as the chamber, need to set some procedures in place for our funding and other things as we move forward. We've met several times discussing this, but it all comes before the chamber board next Thursday morning.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Good, you guys have been busy.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Locke, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Citizen comments. City Council welcomes your unscheduled comments. Please limit to the comments to 3 minutes. Council will not take action at this meeting.
I'd like to say something.
Hang on just a minute. Somebody beat you to the...
Oh, okay.
Want to fight? Good evening, council. Tonight I come before you on behalf of Margot Alexander. She asked me to read this to you. Since I cannot be at this meeting because of my upcoming surgery, I would like you to think of this motto for the council and City Hall. Praise in public, criticize in private. We all have the right to disagree, but
but we also have the obligation as people to treat each other with respect, kindness, and love. Thank you, Margot. And I'd like to wish Margot the very best of luck. Prayers and hugs. Her surgery is on the 23rd.
Mr. Deacon?
As I'm the Rio Grande County Commissioner, I just want to say to the City Council, sitting in here and listening to what you're working on, it's really impressive. And I say an attaboy, because you're making a difference with Monte Vista, and I'm proud to live here.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Becca?
Sorry.
One of these days you're gonna have to say something. Okay, we'll move into public hearing. The Cella Valley Publishing Building to Mr. Douglas. Mr. Trujillo.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. All right, we're set here for a public hearing to determine whether the city should sell some property. I'll give the board just a little bit of history on it. This has to do with the Valley Publishing Building that's kind of commonly known. Lots 23, 24, and 25, Block 10, the town of Monte. The town, or the city received that from Valley Publishing back in 2008 for $10 and other consideration. Resolution 2006 or 06/2018 was signed by the mayor and attested by the clerk on May the 3rd of 2018. And the idea was basically to lease the Valley Publishing Building and looks like another building to try and create some kind of a potential business incubator. Looks like Councilman Johnson moved to pass the resolution and Councilman Segala seconded it, passed unanimously. The lease was put in place with Local Business Assist LLC back in September of 2018 and then amended in March of 2019. And that lease was between the City of Monte Vista and Local Business Assist LLC, Ron Douglas. Part of the obligation was to appraise the property, and it looks like that was done in June of 2019 by Monty Mullins, and that property, the Valley Publishing Building, appraised for $25,000. The property is commercial business, the zoning on it, it's about 11,000 square feet. And looks like its age is about 40 years plus. The requirements for the city to sell property that isn't used specifically for governmental use or city use is to have a hearing, have an appraisal, and then if the board decides to sell the property, to pass it by ordinance. So I think that's kind of a little bit of a history for the board and folks that might have an interest. And so I guess at this point we would proceed with a public hearing. My thought might be initially to call Ron Douglas and just see what his maybe idea, plan might be, and he's requesting that it be sold to him for the appraised price. So, Ron, if you want to just take the podium, state your name, and then tell the council a little bit about what maybe your plans are, what you're thinking there, and what your ideas might be.
Okay.
Howdy. I didn't know if I was ever gonna be standing here ever again, but, when we did this agreement, we did 3 buildings, at the same time. This was the last building of those 3. And the goal the whole time was to get them filled and get them used, and so that we didn't have so many empty buildings in the city. We did achieve that with 2 of the buildings. This building, I have held off on only because I had learned, when we originally had done this, I assumed, and it's completely my fault, but I assumed that we had made an agreement that we would lease it for 3 years, and at the end of that I could then purchase it. I didn't realize I had to go to vote, and we had to do all this, and so I backed off of doing a remodel on that property. I didn't want to do a remodel on a property that I could not own, so I decided to hold off on that until after the purchase. So I will be redoing that building. I'll probably start this year on it. I've got several remodeling projects going on as we speak. The other 2 buildings we did fill. Those people have occupied those. I believe those have been sold or being in the process of being sold to those people. So that's worked out fairly well. And really this is kind of like the last building. So we're just trying to, and honestly, I'll be honest with you guys, I do not know 100% without a doubt exactly what we are going to do with that building as far as who the tenant will be. But the remodeling process, which is going to be quite extensive, as you can tell by the evaluation of that building, it's going to be pretty extensive, but it will be remodeled. It will be new paint, new windows, new flooring, light fixtures, all that stuff. I've already got all that stuff kind of sitting on the sidelines waiting for a final on this, and then once I know that I can actually acquire the building, then I'll go ahead and start buying all that equipment.
Ron, what are your plans in terms of how quick you want to purchase it if the board approves it?
If the board approves it, I'd like to probably purchase it within the next 60 to 90 days, whatever the standard timeline is for the paperwork and whatever it takes for the banks to get through all that. So I've been working with a local bank. They've been really good, worked with me pretty well, but they have expressed that I've been kind of pushing the envelope as far as deadlines and trying to get closes done, and so they've asked me to lay off a little bit. So I think the last house I tried to close in under 30 days, but so we're trying to, 60 to 90 basically.
And what's the condition just generally of the roof and those kind of areas?
Lots of leaks in the roof, all repairable. The saving grace for the building, honestly, is it's all concrete. I mean, walls, floor is all concrete. So it's got good bones, but it's been empty since 2008. Well, before 2008, that's when it was donated. I don't know how long it's actually been empty, but yeah, it's. I mean, there's no furnace in there. There's no nothing. So I mean, I got to bring in furnaces. I got to bring in heating. All new heating systems, all new everything. So yeah, it's going to be quite an ordeal to get that back up to snuff. But I will be working with Forrest and figuring out what I can and can't do there. We may be talking about doing something different upstairs because it's got a second floor, so I may be doing something a little bit different upstairs versus what I do downstairs.
What's your timeline to finish just construction generally?
I'm going to say within 60 days of close, I'm going to at least make it much more presentable from the street, let's put it that way. So I've already got a painter on standby waiting to paint the building and all new windows from A&M Windows out out south of us. They've already came out and measured all the windows and they're ready to build those for me.
And you've got some prospective tenants, even though you don't know for sure.
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry, it's just, I've had some different experiences here in the past, and so I'm really just trying to hold off on saying anything about anything until I know for sure 100% that something's going to be done. But every building that, every building that we help, and you brought up local business assist, every building that local business assist helped fill is still filled. So, that's a good thing. None of those have gone empty, and this building actually technically is being used right now, but it's only being used on a short-term basis. It's being used as a health facility for rain brews and their construction and what they're doing, and all their extra stuff that they've got that they're as a remodeling those buildings. They're using this as a short-term storage. So that ends here at the end of the month, and then that's when I was gonna hopefully take this thing over, and then we'll start working on remodeling it all.
Do any of the council members have any questions of Ron Douglas?
You answered the question that I had, so.
Oh,
Yeah, you answered all my questions already, so, yeah. Good job, thank you.
And in your remodel, I'll throw one out because no one else has. In your remodel, do you see this as being retail? Do you see it as being professional office? What are your thoughts going into this?
Yeah. Trying not to open up a can of worms, I would say that, I've looked at several different business models for this building. I personally do not want to take on another business, so it will not be something I will be doing, but I'm looking at more of the professional offices with possible, private professional offices. I'll just put it that, I guess, and more of a built-in waiting room, and then, the building is huge, and it can handle several things. I've talked to people that want to put a UPS type store there with indoor storage. We've done everything from that to cell phone place, another cell phone store there, to another person that wanted to do indoor storage, another person that wanted me to divide it up into more professional offices, kind of like a barber shop, beauty salon, maybe like a an accountant's office, and just divide up all the office space in there because it's just so large. It's totally doable.
Okay, thank you.
All right, now maybe we'll let you sit down, and I'll just ask if anyone else wishes to speak in favor of the sale to Mr. Douglas. Is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition? All right, seeing none, hearing none, I guess we'll close the public hearing and turn it over to the council.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Airport master plan.
Jake, I was making sure we're.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay, so we go to resolutions. Resolution 2021-022, approval of the Monte Vista Airport Master Plan.
Hello again. So, again, tonight, as I told you earlier, you'll listen to the presentation for the airport master plan. For the FAA, we need to do a formal approval of that master plan. It gives us guidance as to what we need to do for the next 20 years. It's not locked in stone. We meet with the airport every year to go over and revise the CIP, the capital improvements plan. I don't know if she really touched on it, but the airport expansion was actually supposed to take place in 2024. And Forrest, myself, and Jenny, we all met with people of the FAA and the state aeronautics, and it's just not something that the city felt comfortable that we could handle that $400,000 match in 2024. So we were able to work out the 21 project and move that much bigger project a few years back. So it is adjustable as we need to, as you know, as our budget allows or disallows certain projects. So what happens in those in-between years, just for everybody's information, you noticed it was 2021 and then nothing until 2022. What we do is we take our 150 during those off years and we transfer it to another airport so they can do a larger project. And then when it's our year to do the big projects, they transfer their monies that they receive from the FAA back to the FAA for us so we can get those bigger projects done. And it's really a good deal. I mean, our obligation is 5%. FAA, the federal government, matches 90% of that. CDOT picks up the other 5. So, $6 million project and you're only paying 5% of it. So it's a pretty good deal. So in front of you tonight is resolution 2021-2, a resolution of the City Council to adopt the Monte Vista Municipal Airport Master Plan. Kind of open it up for any questions. If there are no questions, then I just need a motion if council feels that they want to adopt this plan.
I move to adopt the approval of the Monte Vista Airport Master Plan, Resolution 2021-02.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 2021-2, resolution for the Monte Vista Municipal Airport Master Plan. Is there any more discussion?
Yeah, I was in, I wanted to just mention on the Zoom meeting, the discussion of all that, and the thing that I picked up most on was the fact that the management and staff that were online and discussing this were pretty much in agreement that from what they've seen in the past, this is one of the best plans that they've really ever seen. I actually had a chance to speak with Lord Buss, who's been down there for like 40 years, I think, plus, I don't know, but that came up today just by chance. And he was very strong about the exact same idea, that it's kind of like the Sky High situation, you see all kinds of proposals and plans and nothing ever really comes of it. And they were, especially some of the things that you just mentioned came up that I had never heard of before, but these small airports around, there's half a dozen or so that transfer funds. And it's perfectly, it sounds a little odd, but it's perfectly legitimate, and FAA is all, you know, a part of all of this. But bottom line, it just came across as being not only a benefit to the community, but a very feasible plan, and everybody seems in agreement on that.
Thank you.
I like the fact that they're looking at putting new hangars in because people want to locate their equipment here.
And we do have the land for some expansion, so it is a good opportunity for us to grow into more, a bigger airport. And with the fuel farm and some of the other amenities, it does bring some potential for some economic growth.
Very good. Anyone else? Anita?
Counselor Foster?
Aye.
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sikala?
Aye.
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion is, it's approved to approve resolution 2021-2 to adopt the Monte Vista Airport Master Plan.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Mr. Vance. All right, resolution 2021-03, amending Division 3J and removing council, committee, city commission, and council reports from the agenda of the Monte Vista Council Procedures and Rules of Order.
I would move we approve Resolution 2021-03, amending Division 3, Section J, removing council, committee, city commission, council reports from the agenda of the Monte Vista City Council Procedure and Rules of Order.
Second.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to speak in favor of this resolution. As most people know, at the end of current consent agenda is a period that we call council reports. The intended purpose of this is so that councilors can give reports on committees, boards that they are members of. A quick review, non-scientific, of looking at what happens during a time period shows that it's very seldom used for that purpose. I have seen things where it has been, special interests have been promoted, events not related to city have not been promoted. But what disturbs me about it is that it has been used to draw dissension among council members. This group does not need any reason to become more dysfunctional. And since it does not serve its purpose, and there are other ways to achieve its purpose, I think that it should be withdrawn from the consent agenda.
Well, you stepped ahead of me, so it's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Is there any more discussion? Nita?
Counselor Locke?
Nay.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala?
Nay.
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Counselor Foster?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Nay.
The motion to approve Resolution 2021-3 fails with a vote of 3 nay, 2 aye.
Would just recommend that we all stay focused on that and not use it out of hand. Okay, we'll move on to ordinances. Request to abolish ordinance 907 and ordinance amending table 12-3 use chart of Monte Vista Municipal Code and removing the special review use designation for religious institute and commercial highway and commercial business.
Good evening, Council. So before you is the request to abolish ordinance 907 and ordinance amending table 12-3 of the use chart of the Monte Vista Municipal Code and removing the special review use designation for religious institutes in a commercial highway commercial business. The reason I bring this before you is after lengthy discussions with the Planning and Zoning Commission, this is a project that they would like to take on, not just this project, but they would also like to take on the project of looking at the zoning code in whole. Now that we have 3 members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, our first meeting will be on March 25th, and we will start looking at the zoning code, and we're going to meet probably a couple times during each month to put some of these in place to change some of the zoning codes that are outdated. So before you this evening, and I ask that you would vote to approve to abolish ordinance 907. That means that what is in the zoning code right now will remain the rules.
I move to abolish ordinance 907 as specified.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for the request to abolish ordinance 907 and ordinance amending table 12-3 use chart of the Monte Vista Municipal Code and removing the special review use designation for religious institutes and commercial highway and commercial business. Is there any more discussion?
So this ordinance is to make it to where how it's been, like
Correct, so it was brought to you, ordinance 907 was brought to you a few months ago to remove the religious institutes from commercial highway and commercial business. I'm asking for you to just completely abolish that ordinance. It will remain the same as it is in our code right now, and we will take it to the Planning and Zoning Commission to look at their zoning regulations as a whole.
Thank you, Nita.
Any more discussion? Nita?
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola?
Aye.
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Counselor Foster?
Aye.
And Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries to abolish ordinance 907.
Okay, ordinance 908, an ordinance approving the sale of city-owned property.
So council, before you is ordinance 908. As you heard in the public hearing, Mr. Douglas would like, as local business assist, would like to purchase the Valley Publishing Building. This ordinance is before you for approval or denial. This is the first reading. You will have to have a second reading on the next council meeting, which is March 4th. And then after the second reading, it would go into effect 30 days after that.
I would move to approve ordinance 908, an ordinance approving the sale of city-owned property.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance 908, an ordinance approving the sale of city-owned property. Is there any more discussion? Nita?
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Counselor Foster?
Aye.
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries for to approve ordinance 908, the sale of the Valley Publishing to local business assist on first reading.
Okay, contracts, agreements, and leases. Waste management price increase letter.
So evening, Mayor, Councilors. You have in your packet a letter from Waste Management from their field rep, if you will, that, as you recall, Waste Management originally proposed a rate increase for 2021, which the City Council rejected. And, of course, Waste Management didn't feel that was in proportion with their franchise agreement, whether that is or not, I don't know. But then they came back with essentially a counteroffer that would waive any request for an increase this year and ask for an increase of 3.5% in 2022 and 3.5% in 2023. So the 2022 increase would be about 57 cents, be about 62, I think, in 2023. That's per month, per individual residential customer. So it's the council's pleasure to decide whatever you want to do. You have the letter there, and
So there is no rate increase scheduled until January of next year.
that is what they are proposing, Councilor.
Okay.
Remind me what the rate increase they had asked for that we turned down? back in December.
Essentially, it was the 3.5%.
Thank you.
That equated to
57 cents
57
per
cents.
individual residential customer
Right.
per month.
One point came up in that discussion that had to do with termination penalties. And having spoken with some folks in the industry as well as citizens, there seems to be a bit of a conflict there that they claimed during our previous discussion that no, they don't have a cancellation penalty. And of course, I haven't seen the exact contracts of that, but I never heard any settling discussion about.
Well, I think, Counselor, what they said is they believe they had a right to termination under the franchise agreement, and they certainly do have a right to do that, but there's no penalty, and they certainly can't charge the city a penalty. Unlike some of their standard agreements, this is a franchise agreement with a non-exclusive franchise agreement with the city of Monte Vista. So it's written on our terms, not maybe what the term that their rep thought their normal contract presents.
Mhm.
So they could certainly terminate their services here, which, you know, is an option on their part, but there's no penalty to the city.
Actually, the penalty I was talking about was the individual customer. If they had, in other words, they signed up for a 6-month contract or whatever the term is,
Right.
if they cancel
Oh,
prior to that.
well, the representative said that they don't have contracts, and I know that, so I'm a waste management customer, because when I got here, that's really who there was.
Okay.
I don't have.
So you're not aware,
There's no contract with them, you just call them up and say, thanks.
okay,
Because we have had quite a few when we authorized, the council authorized another franchise, and, which is our folks from Creed, and a lot of people did switch at that time. The rate differential was, the biggest thing was commercial customers, the rate differential was quite an advantage for commercial customers. It was $1 something at the time for residential.
okay.
And then the folks at Creed also do offer 4P recycling. So there were customers that definitely switched, and I never heard of anyone getting a penalty.
Okay.
There was some confusion from time to time when people called Waste Management corporate, and then they ended up calling the city, and we would have conversations about some discussions like that, but to my knowledge, nobody was actually ever paid for that.
Yeah, okay, it was
Many
just
customers
unclear.
told me couldn't switch.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's not an exclusive franchise, so we actually have 3 haulers in town that have franchise agreements.
right, okay, thank you.
You can go on their website and it will tell you that there's no,
Oh, okay, I haven't seen anything
you check that out right away.
conclusive about that.
And it was, they said the only thing is, like, if you cancel after their billing process, you will still get billed for those. But if you canceled it before the billing process, then there's no charge to it. So people may have thought, hey, I wanted to get rid of them, but, so it could have been after the billing thing here.
Sure, all right. Appreciate that, thank you.
Do we just, like, vote on that, or do we just, okay.
Well, so yes, Counselor, you have a proposal on the table from Waste Management, which the council can choose to accept by voice vote or deny by voice vote. If you have a motion for second, of course.
I would move to approve the letter of a rate of increase by Waste Management.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the waste management price increase letter. Price increase based on 2022 and 2023. They will forego the 2021 rate increase. Is there any more discussion?
Yeah, my only concern is that we are locked into 2 years of increases. I don't know why that's even coming up, and why they wouldn't bring this up towards the end of this year, but it just, I don't quite understand that. We don't know exactly what things are gonna look like in 2022, and certainly not in 2023, so I would definitely be against that part of it.
Can I add something to that?
Sure.
Just from the conversations we had with them, a lot of their agreements or contracts they have with municipalities, not ours, allow them in their contractual language to get a certain increase annually with really no particular justification. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I think that that's their bent that they were talking about. That's why they're asking for that, because it's pretty standard for them, but not necessarily for the city of Monte Vista.
All right. Yeah, I just don't like projecting it. It's a fairly small amount, I'm not fond of the idea.
that,
I don't think.
my question would be, that's to the end of that contract, right?
That would be the end of their franchise agreement would be in 2023, so they'd be up for renewal.
And this also would keep like they were giving the city like, how many truckloads, 20 or something? I don't know.
So in addition to the $26,000 or so in franchise fees they pay us annually, they also provide assistance with roll-offs for our spring cleanups, the years that we have those. I can't remember how many that was last time.
Last time that was 8 solid trips.
Right. So 8 of those roll-offs, which is probably,
About $1,000 a piece.
thank you. So about $8,000 in roll-offs, which is,
So those will still be available for the city of Monte Vista?
right, so nothing else would change to what they do for us.
Because like if you think about it, just those trips in particular, you know, for each person, you know, if somebody has a truckload that they need to take to the dump and they don't, and they take it over here, that saves them everything that they have to spend during the year.
The truckload's $8 to $12 at the landfill plus your gas to get there, so, you know, so to call it $12 to go up there and back in time, and, you know, we generally, not sure when we will do spring cleanup this year, exactly, it's be COVID safe, but, that is a service we provide for the community that they augment for us. And then city crews provide all the on-site assistance at the, city shops.
Do you have any more discussion?
I just keep going back to the current situation that the city, the valley, the state, the nation is in. It just doesn't seem a right time or place for an increase at all. That's all.
Well, I think we're talking, I believe you said it's 57 cents. And I understand that 2020 with COVID and everything has put us in a very, put many of us in a very fearful, or maybe we look at the future with trepidation. But the bottom line is, in 2019, we didn't know what was gonna happen in 2020. In 2017, we didn't know what was gonna happen in 2018. And here we are in 2021, and you're right, we don't know what's gonna happen in 2022.
That's right.
But we certainly can't, we can't let our lack of crystal ball prevent us from actually securing that it's only going to be 57 cents, sorry, 57 cents. So, again, I understand the fear, I understand the trepidation, I understand the hesitation, but regardless, life goes on and we've got to move forward. And we're gonna lose a lot if we, I mean, they give us a lot of free services, they've donated a lot to us, they've done a lot for our city.
Just me personally, my own personal thoughts, you know. I've had a lot of time to think about a lot of stuff that the council has had to endure this past year, especially with the Sky High, you know. And that project right there, just by itself, you know, made us all stand on our feet. We had to take it head on, and we had to make decisions based on our faith, you know. Is this going to happen? Is it going to happen? And we all made a decision to say, yeah, it's gonna happen. And we still don't know 2 months from now what's gonna happen, but we made a decision, an $8 million decision to say, yeah, we're gonna do that. You know, and that's because of our faith, that we believe that, you know what, it's going to happen. You know, and that's the same thing here. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, oh man, COVID is a mess. And it's ruined people's lives and taken people from their families and whatnot. But to be optimistic, right? To have that faith and to say, you know what? I'm believing for something You know what I mean? Like, and to have faith is to believe what you don't see. You know what I mean? And that's, you know, part of what I'm doing is believing what I don't see. You know, and it's like, yeah, it might not look the very best right now, and it might not even be the best in our current situation, but I'm optimistic about the future. I want to see it prosper. I want to see it better. And, you know, I'm hoping not just for my own, but for every single person in here to be better in a year or two or three. So, just my
I certainly agree with that. I certainly agree with being optimistic. I will simply reiterate something that I have heard time and time again as I've made proposals, none of which have been activated before this council. It's not the plan. Your plan is good, Councilor Johnson, but we don't like the idea because of the perception. What you're proposing is going to create a perception that in the community, people are seeing us as spendthrifts or whatever. I don't know, you know, no sense going into a lot of detail about that. And I'm pretty sure where this is gonna go anyhow, but I will stand firmly with the perception that any kind of an increase is an insult to the people in this town. And I stand for the people in this town, I'm one of them. I stand for the people in this town, even though it's a small amount. I am not going to burden them with a vote that says we're increasing your trash rates. That's all there is to it. It's not very much money. I'm not afraid of COVID or anything else. I simply have one boss in this job, and it is the people of the city of Monte Vista. Not anybody in government, not anybody in management, not anybody in staff. It's simply, I stand for the people, and if this small amount can at least make a statement to them that we have their thoughts and their situation and their financial well-being in mind, primary and foremost, then that if I can do it on this small amount and propose that and stand for that, then that's where I stand.
I appreciate your stand. I really do. I think what's at stake here is that if we do not approve this letter, then of a 57-cent increase, then basically we don't have a contract with them and they can raise it as much as they want to. So I think we are looking out for the citizens by making sure that it's only a 57-cent increase. It's not gonna go any higher. We're making sure that the services that Waste Management is providing for free, the donations that they give this town on a regular basis, that those things continue. And I think that the citizens of Monte Vista are, I think they are cognizant enough of current events and price raises and things like that, that they're not going to see 57 cents as a slap in the face. I don't see our citizens thinking that. I think they're going to see that this is securing for them and for our city, again, the donations, the trucks that are provided for the roll-offs, and basically sort of a price control. So it doesn't go any higher than this.
I think if you check the website with the competition, you'll find there's plenty of civic involvement and donations and contributions being made by at least one of the competition that I'm aware of is MDS. And no, this doesn't, you can't reverse this and say this is a guarantee that's not going to go any more than that. This is a free enterprise society, and with a contract or without, if they choose to raise prices and double instead of up 3%, Free enterprise takes care of that. It's a simple system and a good solution, and these are not the times to be bringing up any kind of increase or additional burden, no matter how small, on the people of Monte Vista.
Well, you're not the only one here for the city and the citizens of this community. We're all here for them. And knowing that we're gonna have a huge sewer project, that discussion's already been had as well. That there's gonna be increases, and there's no way around it, due to the fact of the expense of it. We're all gonna have to take part in that. So, little pieces here and there, being in a service business, and I know for a fact there's a farmer in our presence, I wanna do the best job I can for those customers as well. And there are some things that are just out of control as far as what their requirements are. And it's out of my control of what's going on as far as what they need. So if this here with waste management is gonna be a huge burden on certain people, then, I mean, they have the opportunity, it's free enterprise, they can go to MDS, they can go to Silver Mountain. They can change their service and it's not gonna cost them anything, and their services could go up as well.
Oh, that's fine, you wanna tell them that. The competition, since they've been in business here in town, which has been the last couple of years, has not requested an increase. They're priced less than Waste Management at this point.
That gives people an opportunity then.
And they do not have one in plan for the future. So, yeah,
Excuse
you're
me,
right.
Counselor, can I ask you about that? Their franchise agreement is up for renewal, and they have not, to my knowledge, proposed any prices in any way to the city yet.
No, all I was saying was what I spoke with them a few months back to find out where they were, and, you know, that it's been a couple of years and they haven't had an increase. Do you have an increase plan? And they just said no. So I don't know. We'll have to look at that. I would have the same feeling and same strength of opinion if they came up with something similar. It's just that, frankly, it's the perception. It's not our pocketbooks that we're talking about, it's theirs.
It's my pocketbook.
It's mine.
Hey,
But if perception is there, and perception has been literally taken out of context and out of control on several cases. And we have a motion on the floor and a second, so I call the motion, please. Anita, would you please?
Counselor Johnson?
That's your job.
I am not the moderator of this meeting. I can call the motion.
I vote nay.
Counselor Foster?
Nay.
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola?
Aye.
And Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries to approve the waste management letter. 3 yeas, 2 nays.
Monte Vista Golf Course contract renewal.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. I'm Adela Martinez. I'm the Vice President of the Board at Monte Vista Golf Club. First, we'd like to thank you all for the support you gave us the last year and the past year before that. Your support has been great. Forrest, Bob, Jen, we really want to thank you for your support, and Bob and Jen for your help in being on our board. It's been a great help. In 2020, the golf course had a great year. We had a wonderful year. We're not going to thank COVID. We're not going to thank anybody for it, but it was a great year. We actually had 1,800 rounds of golf played from members or from people that weren't members of the golf course.
Wow.
and these are people from out of town. So we also see that the golf course did a lot for the city and the community. I mean, these people came here and played golf. They went to our grocery stores, they went to our restaurants, our stores to shop. It was good for the whole city. So, again, we'd like to thank the city too for their support. COVID it affected everybody, but there were a lot of people that still understood, even with COVID, they can go play golf. That increased our golf course by a lot. We were very happy that it did. In 2019, we had 79 members. In 2020, we increased it to 118 members. This year, we have 12 new members that haven't been members before and new golfers. And golf hasn't even started, but they've already paid their membership and they're coming on for the year. We're very happy about it. In 2020, we had an estimate, we're pretty sure right around 5,500 rounds, which increased by almost 2,000 rounds. Wow. And again, 1,800 of those rounds were from people that don't live in the town and were not members. So it was, again, great. Last year what we did, we sat down as a board and we decided Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday we were gonna have special days, special golf, which we gave you an all-day golf for one fee. So a lot of that 1,800 were those people. They'd come and golf in the morning, they'd go have lunch, they'd go shopping, they'd come back and golf in the afternoon and, you know, call it a day. So that helped a lot too. Where are we? We were able to purchase a fairway mower last year due to the help of the city and city council and Mr. Mayor. You helped us buy that piece of equipment, which increased the way we mow our fairways. It helped us. It just a lot better machine than we've had. It made the course a lot better. We were able to cut the fairways like they should be cut. So that really helped us. And this year you've helped us again for 2021, and we're going to buy hopefully 3 more pieces of equipment, which is going to improve our greens, our roughs, and it's going to make it easier on our groundskeeper to keep the course looking great and making everybody happy out there. The maintenance department for the city really helped us last year. I think you guys remember we had a couple of windy days that kind of helped our trees fall down a little faster than we wanted them to. But the city came out, helped us with that. It was great. Great teamwork. We got out there, got it done. I think we were down for 8 hours at the most for the 3 windstorms that we had on the golf course. So it didn't hurt as much at all. And we'd like to thank the city maintenance department for that. We also purchased a new software program for the pro shop. It's Club Caddy. Jen really got involved in that and helped us, and Michelle and Gracie are grateful for that. I don't think they have it in yet, but once they get it in, they're going to start really digging into that. That's really going to help us. It's going to tell us how many rounds are played. Even with members, it's going to help us know whether they come in the morning and afternoon, or just the morning or just the afternoon. So it's really going to show a lot on how we keep our golf course going. It's going to help us with tee times. It's going to help us to reserve carts and stuff like that. So that was a big help. Last year was the first year we actually put money in our savings account. It had to be 20 years. Yeah, we were like little kids. We weren't sure what we were supposed to do. Where do we put this stuff? But we put it into a savings account, and we're hoping in the next 3 to 4 years we can continue doing this, so we can contribute to the sprinkler system, the pro shop, our cart sheds. We want to be able to do a lot of this ourselves and be self-contained. But it's always, it's great to have the city help us, and even if in 4 or 5 years, if it's not financial, if they can help us with ideas and let us know what we can do on the course, and as far as putting up a new building or maybe putting in a new sprinkler system or something, it'd be great. So next year, our 2020 year, or this year, what we're really trying to do is boost our green fees and boost our membership up 10%, which I mentioned earlier, we already had 12 new ones, so we're doing great at that. In our last board meeting, we did reach out to the members. They feel a 10% increase for green fees or for membership is well worth it. I'm not sure if you know what our fees are. I think it's $5.25 for a family. I think $5.25 and $4.75 for a single. I know a lot of you don't know about golf. I don't know a lot about it, but I know I like to be out there quite a bit. And my membership in New Mexico was $1,800, and you still had to pay your daily fees if you went out there. That was just to be a member. So $500 to play free golf for the entire year is very inexpensive. The members are happy about it. They're not feeling that it's too much. So it's going really well, especially with the new members. We're trying to bring in new members, young golfers. We haven't had a lot of young golfers out there for a long time, and we're getting them out there. I know COVID had messed up a lot of the sports. We had 17 golfers on the golf team, which they said they'd never seen before. So that was kind of nice to have those young players come out there and learn about golf. Another big thing, we're hoping that we can put 10,000 in our savings account this year and build that up and keep going and see what we can build and do on our own. So for all that said, we'd like to continue our lease with the city. We're happy with the lease we had last year. We'd like to continue it on and sign the agreement that we do have, that there's no questions about the lease.
No questions about the lease per se. One of the topics that came up a year ago when we were discussing this was using the golf course for alternate uses, whether that be hosting events or things. Where are you guys at on that? Tell me a little bit about where your plans are.
Last year we had 2 weddings.
Okay.
We did have, it was a motorcycle thing. And that goes through Gracie, the manager. We really don't get involved in that, but they do know they're authorized to book weddings, to book other events. And last year it did go well. You know, even though COVID, we did let people know they had to stay socially. Even in our golf cart. I think it was up until August, we didn't allow 2 players in a golf cart. If you were playing, you had to be in a golf cart by yourself. We did change that towards the end of the year. But yeah, we are having events there.
Thank you.
I would move that we approve to renew their lease. I move that we approve their lease.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Monte Vista Golf Course contract renewal. Is there any more discussion?
I'm kind of a numbers person. I'm real interested in seeing the P&L or end of the year statement or.
You guys have our budget.
It's in here, I just need to scroll down.
But I'm lucky enough to sit down. Our new treasurer for 2021 is Austin.
Oh,
And he will
there it is.
talk about the budget.
I stand corrected.
I got all
And it
the
does look
parts,
good.
just thanking everybody.
It does look good. Congratulations.
Jen, is there anything that you might say or?
I just want to add that, you know, we had some rocky times with the golf course, but this last year, I think the numbers speak for themselves on the teamwork that took place there and the type of involvement that they had in the community when people couldn't be involved. You know, it ended up being a place that people could go and do something and get out of the house in a time that they couldn't. And I think that the golf course did a really good job of being there with open arms and making everybody feel welcome. You know, I know the golf board president, he took people out and taught them how to golf. You know, Gracie took people out and taught them how to golf. You know, they took the time to the new golfers be there and help them learn the game a little bit. They had golf clubs for them. You know, it really was a positive experience this year. And I think, like I said, I think the numbers speak for themselves. I think the new management's doing a great job. The board is working together really well. We're staying in constant communication, and I really feel the golf course as far as a partnership with the city, has made a 180, and it would behoove us to move forward in that same light.
I'd just like to say that I am so very proud of what the golf course has done. I know that things weren't great last year when the renewal was being discussed, but wow, I mean, y'all, you have, not only has the money turned around, the improvements have turned around, but I'm most impressed with, as I've watched what you've all done this year, just the attitudes have gotten so much better and so much more open to Jen helping and Bob helping, and I just can't, I really can't brag on you enough right now, so I'm really happy for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we're proud of what we've done, and again, we couldn't have done it without the city, the mayor, the board. We'd like to steal Jen from you, but I'm sure she's just as important here as she is there.
Now then we'd have a little problem.
Let the gloves come off, huh?
We might have to
I think there was a
discuss.
couple of times I seen this old Marine out there, and it looked like he had to swing his club.
And I just want council to know that the offer stands in 2021. Anybody wants to come golf with me, come golf.
Can I use a frisbee?
I will look the other way.
Let him use it, Jen, he'll never.
That's what I said, I'll look the other way.
So he'll never win.
Hey, if you saw me play, it's always best ball. Oops, let's just pick that up and put it back on the fairway. We'll be good.
It's been moved and seconded, yeah, that was all the discussion, so. Nita?
Counselor Foster?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala?
Aye.
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries to approve the golf course contract.
Congratulations, guys, that's awesome to hear.
Thank you very much.
That's really good.
Thanks.
That's great.
We're hoping it continues on. It looks like it's going to. Those were 12 new members. I think we've had 58 already paid for the new year.
Great.
Very good. Was Austin a new member?
Austin, no, not a new member, but he's a new board member.
I've been a member since I was about 4.
Anita, do you want me to sign that now, or?
Sure.
So while I sign that, we'll have Austin come up and he can talk to you about money,
If you guys have
if
any
you have any
questions.
questions.
Well, actually, it's approved, just.
Yeah.
Right, so I think you're good to
Okay.
go.
Say it out, of course.
Savings account?
This
It's always.
It's done.
Say when.
This is your opportunity.
Run, Austin, run.
I better leave this right up here.
We do.
Thanks, Deb.
Oh yeah, Anita gets that check. Oh, Jen, I don't know.
I'll take it. My girls get it. Thanks.
She'll get it eventually, so. Thank you guys.
Thanks
Thank you
again.
all so much. Really appreciate what you guys have done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Requesting RFQs for economic developer for City of Monte Vista. Who's doing that one?
Well, I believe that's Councilor Locke's initiative.
Well, I would move that we send out RFQs for an economic developer for the city of Monte Vista.
Okay, I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded to request RFQs for economic developer for City of Monte Vista. Is there any more discussion?
Do you have an outline for that in terms of pay and contract and that kind of thing?
Well, the RFQs, I would imagine that they would, when they submit their resume, they would also submit their asking salary, and at that point, we would discuss that.
So if the council, if I might, if the council was to approve this tonight, we would develop the actual ask document and present it to the council to review before we published it or sent it out. We have a pretty good idea of what the outline would be, but it would be up to the respondents to, so we created a list of services, activities, all those normal things you have in RFQ, but we let the council see it probably at the next council meeting before we actually let it to bid, so to speak.
And would that be something that the council would determine the budget on that? Or would that be something that the developer would request on his own? Would that be budgeted into, is that gonna be budgeted?
Well, so the way that works, Counselor, is right now, we don't actually have a particular line item for the cabinet development person, so that would probably require a budget amendment on part of the council, and you'd have to see what the proposals were, how much they cost. If it's something the council wanted to do, then you could, I mean, I would imagine that those responding would make presentations to the council, decide if you want to pick a candidate, and it would at this point require a budget amendment for it to go forward.
Just curious, how fast does that happen?
Probably 30 days for the offering, so if it was approved by council, the document itself. So 30 days, give or take, and then it come back. It's pretty standard RFP, kind of a format for that. Get proposals back, you look at them, and the council gets a chance to look at them and probably have a work session, discuss them, decide if there's firms that you wish to interview. So the total process time is, 60 to 90 days, I would guess.
And do we have any speculation about how much an economic developer costs?
Ballparky, yes. Previous council kind of put one of those out there, and we're talking in the 60s. Would be a pretty decent guess.
And this is actually one of the goals that we set for our city manager several meetings ago. So I think we need to get that rolling, because basically if we don't, we're standing in the way of him accomplishing a goal that we set for him to accomplish.
So, just for the discussion's sake, we put out an RFQ, and we get all this, all these workshops and proposals. Does that necessarily set in stone that we have to proceed forward with that?
No, sir, it doesn't. So, just like, depends on what you're doing, but in this case, no. It doesn't. If we're doing like the airport deal, we got 5 different proposers for that. Went through them all, council got a chance to look at them, and the airport board selected, but no. Short answer, no, it doesn't commit you to doing anything other than making an ask.
Okay. I think we should roll with it.
Okay. Nita?
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Counselor Foster?
Nick?
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-2 to send out RFQs.
4
Or
to 2?
excuse me, 4-1 for economic developer.
Is that new math?
Yes.
That's Singapore math.
Subtract 4, add 3.
It's Singapore math. It's good.
That's
Oh,
it.
great, it's counted twice. Approval of financial reports, Jim, do you have something?
I will have that for you at the next council meeting.
Staff proposals, reports, and actions, city manager.
Good evening again, Mayor, Councilors. Just a couple really brief things. Added my report that you already have in your hands. Sky High encompasses a whole lot of time And actually, our finance director and I participated in the conference call with SLB Fed and our bond counsel. The actual levy instrument that we're doing in regards to Sky High, and which was authorized by Ordinance 904. So we're now in this final kind of working through the iterations with the bank, the bond counsel, to make sure it all fits in the lease purchase. That was anticipated, and we hope to have that closed by March 15th. That's the current schedule. I think we'll make it there, which will be good timing. Although I'm not sure we'll need the funds till the start of April, but that'll all get wrapped up, so that's good. One other golf course item, well, a couple, but I wanted to thank Public Works. You know, they put up the 7th hole net this year, which actually proved to be quite effective, and that was really a combination of Public Works actually working with REC to get that project out to the community, and there'll be another net coming. So right down at the intersection to go out to the golf course and at Prospect, there's that pesky 8th hole there where occasionally golfers feel really mighty and drive the ball over the road. So we actually have a project spec there where REC will provide the holes, the city will provide the netting and the manpower, and we will kind of fix that corner up hopefully. You know, there's a neighbor right across the street there, straight to the south, which I had a very long conversation with last year, and you know, I was like, how many balls hit your house? And actually, a few. And a lot end up in his yard. So, kind of looked at the angles, and we actually talked to our friendly golf course designer, and he said that's a good interim thing. We do have a gentleman who, in a couple of years, will be retired from building golf courses currently, and then hopefully he can work with the golf course board to add some additional features to the golf course. So anyway, but we will be working on that this spring, or later, I guess that's spring still, April, March. So anyway, that's coming up. And other than that, I don't have anything to add unless you have any questions. Awesome. All right, thank you.
City clerk?
I hate these chairs.
So on that note, I do have a useful public service that will be fixing the chairs.
Yay.
Actually, I will not, but Manuel, our new code enforcement officer, will. Good evening again, council. So just wanted to update you on the city clerk's office and where we're at and what we're doing. Been working on a lot of ordinances and resolutions for the city, for council. I've also been updating the planning and zoning applications, liquor license, and business license applications for 2021. Put together a business license application packet, which includes the business license, potential liquor license if they want to apply for it, planning and zoning, the zoning verification forms, signed permits. So there's a complete packet that a business can pick up. There have been 2 new businesses that have come in. The one at 1636 Grand Avenue, and then a flower shop that is potentially opening on 2nd Street. The location is still in determination, but they have applied for their business license, so they are coming in. Had inquiry about a Taco John's coming into the Loves location. So we've had quite a few inquiries about new businesses. Spoke with another business today. Coming in is a new contract company in the valley, into Monte Vista. The business that's next to Nino's is being purchased and is going to be a furniture store. So there's quite a few new businesses coming in. Business licenses have been processed for 2021. We'll be sending out second notices at the end of February for businesses to have their business license updated or renewed or a new business license in. At the end of March, we'll send out a third notice with the request that if it's not in by the 15th of March, then, or excuse me, by the 15th of April, then their business will be considered closed unless they renew that business license or apply for a business license. With that being said, there's a few things I'd like to remind the folks. If you are a business and you're going to have a storefront property business or a home-based business or an internet-based business, you have to apply for a business license, and it has to be approved through the city for you to run that business. I'd also like to remind everybody that if you live within the city limits, please register your dogs. So far this year, we have 12 dogs registered. Last year, we had 50. The year before, we had 197. So please register your dogs. I also like to remind everybody, hopefully COVID will take a back seat and we'll be able to move forward with vendors and exhibits throughout the valley and throughout Monte Vista. I did learn today that the Crane Fest, even though the Crane Fest is not happening, they are going to have a vendors exhibit on March 19th and 20th at the McMillan Building. So vendors still have to get their vendor's license. It's $5 a day. So vendors who are going to be part of that or any function they need or event, they need to apply for their vendor's license and get that vendor's license. It literally takes 2 minutes to do, and it's $5.
Is that, do those vendors also need to purchase a business license?
No, they only have to do a vendor's permit. A lot of vendors come from out of state, out of town, so they just do the vendor's permit for that event. If they're gonna continue to do business within the city, have things at different stores, then they would need to apply for a business license.
So like somebody who leaves merchandise at a store? Okay.
Yes. So liquor license, we've had a couple of changes. Rio Bravo, the liquor store next to Safeway, has sold, and the new name is Park Avenue Liquor. The liquor division has extended their outdoor dining until the end of 2021. I don't know if you've all have heard, but Rio Grande County went into the blue level today for the on the COVID dial, which gives 50% occupancy. So last call for alcohol is now midnight. So it went from 11 to midnight. Liquor to go is still 10 p.m. A lot of changes with the liquor division with COVID, so a lot of different changes come down for liquor license holders. Most of, all the ones here in Monte Vista have complied with those. Municipal courts, we're currently back open. We had our first full day of in-person court on the 10th of February. We had 80 defendants on the docket. We had 13 people show up. So it was kind of a bust. So we have quite a bit of things going on in the courts right now. With that being said, our new code enforcement officer manual has started up a new useful public service program. I'm sure the chief will talk more about that. Just wanted to let you know that the judge is utilizing that and offering defendants to do useful public service. Kind of her motto is, you do the crime in Monte Vista, you do the time in Monte Vista. So hopefully the defendants, if they can't pay, they will take that up and do useful public service in lieu of their fee or their fines. Planning and zoning, we welcome new member Ken Hamko to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Our next meeting will be on March 25th, and we'll start looking at rewriting the zoning codes as I stated before. We haven't had a planning and zoning meeting because we've had 2 members and they've been fighting COVID themselves, so hopefully in March there won't be any COVID problems, and with 3 members, we'll be able to move forward with the rewrite of the zoning code. We're also going to start looking at the 3-mile plan with the Planning and Zoning Commission and with Forest. Other news, just like to let you know that Rob's Cruise, along with Manuel's Cruise for use for public service, has got the Valley 3 Theater cleaned up from the snow damage. The roof has been temporarily repaired, and the movie theater is back open. We were so happy to hear that we went into the blue and could go to 50%, because we were actually talking about closing our doors. Just because the last couple weekends we've had about 10 patrons come to the movie, so it's just not paying to keep the doors open. So hopefully, with the movie companies now starting to release some new movies and the dial going up to blue or going down to blue, we'll be able to have more patrons into the theater and our budget will come back up. With that, this weekend, the movie Little Things is playing. Next weekend, and then the weekend of March 5th and 7th, the new Tom and Jerry movie is playing. So all the parents, bring your kids out to the movies and help us keep the doors open.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nita.
Thank you.
Last time you get to see my ugly look tonight. So, you have my council report. I don't have a whole lot to add. Some of the points, the highlights, we are finally fully staffed. We've been functioning the last 3 months with a shortage in our streets department. I think we've handled it really well. I don't think most people even noticed there was a miss, but we are fully staffed. We've been using quite a few of the utilities guys to kind of fill in some of those slack areas as far as running the equipment and doing things like that. Playing in the snow is pretty much the bulk of what we're doing. Been really busy trying to do, with the airport, closing that up. The master plan for our wastewater, water, and roadway master plans has also taken up a lot of my time. So I'll kind of leave it up to you, keep it short. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer it. Other than that, keep it short.
You guys did a great job getting on the snow.
Cruise went out at 2 o'clock this morning.
I don't know how they timed that, but it stopped and then the truck came. Wait a minute.
We're good. We got a lot done this morning, so it was a good deal. Wall's doing a really good job making sure, like I said, the crew's doing really good. I'm glad that we're fully staffed. We just hired a young man that started last week. I will be bringing both of the new hires in front of council in March, on the first meeting in March, so you can introduce him to you, or them to you. And like I said, I was really pleased with the snow removal today. I thought it was really good. So we hit the sidewalks and the streets pretty good. So it was a good snow.
Pretty happy that we got some moisture.
Yeah. So,
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Rob. You guys do a great job.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, councilors. Nita stole all my thunder, so. Literally talked about almost everything I was gonna talk about. You guys met Manuel, well, actually a year ago, because he started with Public Works, and then he came to us in December? Yeah, somewhere there. Anyway, Manuel has been absolutely amazing what he's been doing with code enforcement, and that's been really kind of one of our big focuses. Even when I took this job, that was one of the focuses that Forrest gave me, was just kind of get some of the code and cleaning up some of these properties and stuff, and we just needed the right person, and Manuel's definitely the right person. He is very, very active. We kind of joke with him, because he's always out trying to catch animals and stuff, so we sometimes call him Carl from Caddyshack, because he's so funny. I mean, he's literally out there hiding behind his vehicle to catch poultry, trying to catch dogs, and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, but he's very active and done a great job with it. And one of the other things he's been doing is he's been working with some of these abandoned properties or these really trashy properties, and he's been able to find some help for these. Like there was an elderly lady that her kids were basically bringing all of their junk and stuff there, and he's been able to help her start getting that cleaned up. And then we're also going to take some of this useful public service that Anita brought up. So, but he's going to use that kind of stuff, and then the biggest focus with the code enforcement is not so much about writing tickets, excuse me, but it's more about getting compliance and getting people compliant and wanting to keep their properties and that kind of stuff cleaned up. Administratively, Chris Donaldson, he worked for us and then he left in July, and then they moved to Texas, but then they came back, so he rejoined us. So this as well puts us at full staff. I think we're probably one of the only law enforcement agencies in the entire valley that is at full staff, so we're happy to be there. Useful public service, a little more about that program. We were approached by, I think it's Julie Zaragoza that runs it out. It's for state probation courts. The court sentences people to useful public service, so it's ran through the probation department. Well, they approached us and said, hey, do you got any projects, and how would that look? So we sat down, came up with a plan on how that would look. We get to choose basically the people that come in, the type of crimes and stuff like that. And so we said, like, for example, absolutely we wouldn't have any sex offenders or anything like that. These are people that are, it might be like a low-level shoplifting or some kind of theft or something like that. But we get to pick and choose the people that we have come through this program, because they are going to be interacting not only with city staff and stuff like that, but also with out in the streets and stuff like that. So we started that last week, I believe. They cleaned up the theater, did an amazing job, actually went above and beyond what Rob and them were saying. And then we've been using them to paint. They've painted a bunch of the offices down at Public Works, and now they're painting a bunch of the offices. We won't talk about the color they painted my office, but that's wonderful. Sorry, but we
baby blue.
Anyway, well, we're going to start using them for a lot of basically free labor to help get a lot of these projects. When summer comes along, the parks, the streets, we've talked about even through city court wants to start sentencing some people. So we talked about like maybe one Friday a month of doing cleanup and just getting several of them cleaning up Main Street and then working down the side streets and stuff like that. And then of course we will supervise them and do that. So, and again, as you see in there, we are open to suggestions if you've got suggestions. One of the things I thought was really interesting, the guy that's been painting over on the PD side, Victor, he actually said, he was like, if you got me the paint, I could probably paint the whole outside of this building. I've got so many hours to do. So, and he's serious. There you go. He's an incredible painter. So I mean, that's just the type of stuff. So why not get some good useful public service out of this and help the city out, or if you guys have some other projects that that are open to doing it, and we will take the time to supervise them to make sure it's getting done. So again, we're totally open to some suggestions on that. Any questions?
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, and if you can just tell all your officers, thank you as well, because they do a great job. And
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Council Committee, City Commission, and Council reports. Martha?
We've had a great positive meeting. I see a lot of forward movement going on. I know we've had some negative, but we're going to overcome that with positive. On that note, there are about 8 cranes, I believe, still at the chamber. And I would love to see those sold before the deadline is up.
How much are those?
They are
150.
150.
150 to sponsor, And then they will be auctioned off at the end of the year. Of course, that goes toward, I believe that goes toward the,
Last year did, I don't know what they're doing this year.
okay, so we don't know what it's going towards just this year. Last year it went towards the optimistics, but it usually goes towards, it's going to be going towards some sort of beautification, some sort of improvement. You can buy your crane back, or you can let it go to auction. And I believe that to buy your crane back is $100. We did that last year, and we have let it, we actually have just kind of let our crane make the rounds in some storefronts. So maybe this year, when they're auctioned off, we'll bring our old one home and let our other one fly around town for a while. So anyway, there are eight cranes left at the chamber that really need to be sold, and you don't have to do business. You can buy as just a person, and the chamber will help you find an artist, or you can find your own, or you can do your own thing to it if you're an artist. Or if you're not an artist, I guess you can do your own thing to it. That would be kind of fun. I think that's about all I've got as far as the chamber business.
Is there someone at the chamber in the morning?
They are usually there. Brenda is now full-time, and I'm not sure exactly what her hours are, but I believe that they are going to be 10 to 4.
8 to 12 and 1 to 4.
8 to 12 and 1 to 4.
Monday through Friday.
So there's only 7 cranes, because I'm picking one up tomorrow.
Well, you already bought that one, hadn't you?
No, I forgot about the paperwork, so.
Oh, okay,
it's
okay,
done,
so
and I
see,
will get it.
all right, 7 cranes, he's doing 6,
Well, in
come
the
on.
county, I told you about that, the commissioners were in for one, I just gotta get the money for you.
So now we're down to 6.
Martha, put me down for one.
5, okay,
Keep it going, keep it
Three
going.
more. Rob, come on, Public Works needs one. Huh? Okay, so we've got 2 left. We've got 2, I've already got you counted, are you gonna buy another one?
I'd like to.
You'll buy 2? Okay, got 1 left. Jenny?
I'll do it. Oh,
Okay.
Chief's got it. You're up,
No,
Chief, because I'm already out one.
You got it? Okay, I expect, 8 to 12 and, what did you say?
1 to 4.
And 1 to 4, the hours just changed on that. So, I expect to see those gone tomorrow. Yes, sir.
Do you pick the artist for us? Because I don't know any artists.
I will actually, you know what, I will
There's a
make sure that
list.
the chamber will help you pick an artist.
They've
Or
got
you can
a
let me
list.
do it, that'd be fun.
I don't care.
I bet Chief has some baby blue paint left.
Put a little Air Force jet on yours.
And some sailboats.
Martha, pick the artist that can do mine and send me a bill. I'm not sure I'll be around tomorrow, but just get me a bill.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, so let me just make sure, that was a lot of fun. Mike, you're buying 1, Chief, you're buying 1, Rob has got 1, Ron has got 2.
Sucker.
Wait a minute, that doesn't count for everything.
County has
The
one.
county commissioners
Got 1.
has got 1, 2, 3,
Mayor's
4,
making a
5,
page tomorrow.
6.
And Mayor.
Mayor, that's 7, got 1 crane left. Who spoke for it? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I ain't doing it better.
You already got 2.
Trying to do a family.
Jenny said she wanted one.
That's right, okay.
I'll do it. Now you gotta understand, I'm doing the cities, so this is my second one.
Okay, that's fine, that's great. And, as much as I hope you all get your crane, I also
Okay.
hope some of you will beat you to it.
I get the crane.
Thanks, that's great. That'll really help out our chamber. And, our chamber actually, they have hired a new person. She will be, full-time. It was planned to be part-time, but we lost, Lenora. Leo. I was trying to say it correctly. So she's gonna be full-time, so our chamber should be open more. And, it's looking good for the chamber. Thank you. And thanks for supporting the chamber. Thank you.
Counselor Foster?
I turned my finished crane in today already.
Good, good. Which one is yours?
Um,
Well, if you turned it today, I haven't seen it. I
yeah,
saw
it
them
was late
Friday.
this afternoon.
Okay, I saw them all Friday.
Yeah.
I
no,
saw the
so
ones
it's
that
late
were there
this
Friday.
afternoon, so either way. And other than that, I have no report.
I would just like to say that the citizens of Monte Vista rock. You know, you guys all, and here you guys all rock. You guys just step up to the plate and bam, hit that ball out the park. You know, but not just you guys, just the whole city of Monte Vista in general. I talk to people in my line of work that come from all over. You know, they come from every part of the country you can think of. And it's great because I get to sit there and have a small conversation with them, and they honestly praise the people here. You know, so like I want to praise the people here as well, and just say thank you guys for being who you guys are. You guys rock. So long and strong.
Counselor Johnson?
Yes, sir. Just a couple of quickies. I'm very excited about what's gone on, much of which we've heard tonight, the airport and that study. Looking forward to seeing some great things going on there. Of course, the golf course. And haven't heard a lot about Sky High, but man, that's looking nice out there. Got roofs on and stuff coming together. And it's, I really want to get into in future meetings, and I'll probably present that with the chamber or whatever, about some of what we need to do here in town in terms of business, entertainment, restaurants, bars, whatever, to align with the business that we're anticipating at the new facility. In other words, we need a reason, stealing your thunder here, Councilor Foster, for those people to go back to Boulder and wherever they're, Grand Junction, wherever they're coming from, to hold their meeting, their event, their whatever here. We need a reason for them to go back and say, not only is that a great world-class facility down there, but you guys really need to see this town. It's full of everything that you need. These convention goers don't just go to the meetings and then go back to their hotel and get up and go to another meeting. They want something to do in the evening. And I want to pursue that and keep that in mind. Of course, we all are, but it has to be done. We have to have something special to get those people to want to come back. Otherwise, they're going to say, well, yeah, it's a great facility, but you know, there's not much to do there. We might as well just hold it, you know, somewhere else. In any case, I've got a lot of ideas about that, but I'm not going to take another hour and a half with that, so I'll leave that be. But Sky High is a great facility, and we've got a tremendous amount of opportunity. I've been asked by several citizens if I was going to respond to the 20-minute vitriolic tirade that took place at the last meeting. And my answer to that is I simply refuse to dignify that attack, personal attack, with a response, other than to say the one thing that did get touched on that was accurate had to do with something that I posted in the paper and some other stuff that got out elsewhere, where I said too much, and I said it way too harshly. So guilty as charged. That part was absolutely accurate, and I appreciate Councilor Foster bringing up the idea to just eliminate that so we don't get into this any time in the future. By saying I'm not going to dignify the attack with a personal attack with a response, I mean that from now on. I'm not bringing this up again, and I was wrong in some of what I said, maybe all of what I said. It was, and I did say it way too harshly. I let my emotions get ahead of my common sense, and that doesn't take away from the cause, but in one way it does, because you can't do that, and that was wrong, and shouldn't have. But in any case, back to those 3 things that I mentioned. I'm sure there's more, but what a great report on the airport golf course and Sky High. I'm pretty excited about that. Amen.
All I gotta say is Monty Strong. Monty Strong. It's gonna be a term that'll be used forever. Okay. We will be moving into executive session.